Welcome to the Savvy Luminary podcast, Astrology for Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Leslie Tagorda, creator of the Astrobrand Method, business astrologer, brand designer, author, and Aquarius boss woman. I help visionary spiritual entrepreneurs and impact makers like you illuminate and amplify your unique star powers so you can be the luminary you were born to be. So good to see you all here, and thank you for joining me because it has been a hot minute since I've come on to live. I just wanted to talk about everybody's moon sign because when I posted that question in the group a little bit earlier ago, there were so many wonderful questions, and I was like, oh my gosh, in that podcast I didn't have that, I'm trying to shorten the episodes instead of making them longer. So I was like, what am I gonna do to kind of like make them small, like shorter? So I figured I'd come on here to answer all of your questions. Otherwise, I want to dive in and I want to talk about the moon sign and what it means in your business, and so how do we apply this in our business? Not just to gain information, not just to gain but to take that information, that knowledge, and turn it into awareness in our own chart, understanding how it's already playing out, and then how do we then bring it with consciousness and mindfulness so that we can really reach our highest potential. I want to talk a little bit about the moon sign for everybody before we dive into everybody's questions. So just imagine if you're one of my one-on-one clients and we're going through an Astrobrand session. I love talking about the moon because the moon, of course, as you already know, is one of our big three: sun, moon, and rising. And the sun and the moon are called our luminaries because these are of course, just proximity. They are the closest or the most influential. And to me, the sun and the moon have this really beautiful dance in our inner beings, that they are kind of the engine that just drive us. Whereas the sun, like the soul in the solar system, the sun is the most massive by volume and by size engine in the solar system, and everything revolves around it. And so in our charts for our sun, it also is that engine. It's that creative force. It's just what we radiate so naturally. And then so when we start to apply that in our business, and of course, I know somebody asked before, am I looking at your personal chart or am I looking at your business chart? And I'm always prioritizing your personal chart, because as a business owner, as a spiritual entrepreneur, whatever you call yourself, everything that you do and create comes from you, comes from your source. And so ultimately, we need to prioritize and align to our own highest energies before we can even start thinking about our business. It's very interesting to note that I will rarely look at a business chart. I will almost always look at the founder's chart as kind of the primary setting stone, setting foundation for what we're going to work on. So again, the sun sign is what we do, and it's what we radiate so naturally well. And sometimes, you'll hear, even if you had an Astrobrand reading from me before, you'll need the reminders and reminders and reminders, because sometimes I've heard things from my astrology mentors, and then finally 2 years later I'm like, oh, that's what she meant. And it starts to sink in. So our sun sign, again, what we do so well, and that when we understand what we do so well, then we can start to get really confident and clear on how to express our differences that really differentiate us from all of the other people that do the same work that we do, right? So sun sign. But then we have our moon sign, and our moon sign is one of those karmic energies. So if you just think about the moon in the solar system revolving around the earth, she doesn't have her own source of light, right? She's just reflecting light off of the sun. And hence she's very receptive. And the moon has so many different layers in what it represents in astrology, because as one of our karmic energies, the karmic energies doesn't necessarily mean bad or good. It just means karmic energies is our soul's history. It's all of the energy that we bring into our lifetime. And then at the time we are born, it's actually the energy that our moon sign is our energy of the expectations that we have on our mother or our primary caretaker if we don't have access to a mother when we are a little child. And so you can see how that moon sign and that kind of primal need for being taken care of actually is just like this theme that we grow through and evolve in our entire life. But that primal energy of our needs from our moon sign that is based from our initial needs from being taken care of comes from our moon sign, and it ultimately becomes our why. It's like why we do things, because if you think of like the little baby who has like inability to be taken care of, who is like totally dependent on its mother, then that little moon sign for you, it's like creating that primal need, and then that primal need then just kind of it goes on through us within like throughout our entire lives. Does that kind of make sense so far with our moon sign? So our moon sign can represent all of those family stories, like maybe intergenerational stories, almost always around money, right? Like where do we learn our money stories from? We learn our money stories and our abundance stories and our ability to have from our parents, from our families, from those that raised us. And so we also start to learn kind of some of the fears and the blocks from our emotional stories that always happen from when we are little. It sets the baseline. And so after that, once we understand those stories that kind of are framing like our emotional needs as we grow into adults and as we grow up and as we become business owners, these inner stories, if left unexamined, are still running the show. That's why understanding the stories from our moon sign, kind of the shadows of our moon sign, are so important. What I've noticed with myself and with a lot of customers is that when we are flailing, when we're not feeling at our best, or when we are operating from this place of fear, it is almost always from the shadow of our moon sign. There's a couple of other karmic energies, and of course our descendant, which is the shadows and projections that we can look to kind of understand these kinds of places where we can get kind of stuck in. But our moon sign is at that kind of primal baseline. And so once we understand the stories that hold us back and our primal needs, then we start to elevate that information in our moon sign in terms of like, how do we need to feel? And so I just posted something on social media and in the Facebook group just a little while ago about what does success feel like to you? Because, you know, we're fed so many stories from media, from our teachers, from our parents, from society about all the things that we should be or all the ways that people see us. You know, if you have like one of those fiery moons, like there are so many of us that have these Aries fiery moons, yet when you're a little girl and you have an Aries moon, half the time your parents are chasing you around saying, hey, stop being so wild, or put your clothes on, or don't be so angry, or why are you so competitive, right? We're getting all these fixed meanings, but the thing that Aries moon needs is to be wild-hearted, is to be the best, to be the fastest, to put themselves first, right? So all the Sagittarius and Leo and other fire moons, Karen, yes. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. Karen says her fire moon at 15 degrees of Leo in the fifth house of creativity intercepted and part of a yod. So lots of karmic hidden talents there that are there waiting for you. And then her reading, we got to understand and unpack and reframe what that is. So thank you, Karen. I'm grateful for you too. I know a couple of people who have these Aries moons, and like, you know, they felt so bad about themselves for always wanting to be competitive and to be the best and the fastest and the first. And, you know, especially for little girls, like it wasn't appropriate to be those things, right? And then for like the Sagittarius moons, like all we want to be is free. We want to just be able to make our choices, go wherever we want, you know, stop telling people what to do. For the Leo moons, all you want to be is creative and courageous. I've been talking about this example a lot, but it really moved me because I know this very successful woman, and she's in energy, and she's also in kind of systems. She works with like governments and different industries to like bring energy rules and regulations together, and she is smart as a whip, and she's always like working so hard to prove herself. And she has this Gemini moon, and when she was a little girl, her parents never listened to her. Her parents always just kind of like downgraded her smarts and didn't foster that in her. Like they wanted her to be more pretty. They wanted her to be like this very traditional girl, and all she was like say, "Hey, look at me, listen to me, recognize me as somebody who's smart." And they never gave her that recognition with her Gemini moon. Gemini moon, all they need is understanding and to be recognized for their intellect. And so today she is driven by her success of always like say, listen to me, I have your answers, I have all of this knowledge, and just pushing herself and pushing herself to be heard and understood. So you can see this in your lifetime with the shadows of of your own moon and the needs of your moon. Sagittarius moons needing to be heard, needing to be free. Leo moons needing to be creative. All of that. What do you need? So Christy, fascinating. Scorpio moon, but because I'm a Cancer sun that's already so moon connected, I never paid attention to that part of my chart. Definitely going to learn more now, right? So this is a really good conversation to talk about because we have our water moon. So let's actually talk about some of these just by elements, because this is actually really fascinating to me how all of the elements work together and how they differ. And so elementally, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, all of our water signs. And the water signs are healing signs. They are emotional signs. They are deeply connected and united through this place of emotional understanding, emotional intelligence, caring, compassion, however you talk about it. And so in terms of like the Cancer is the cardinal. So it's laying the foundation in terms of like, let's have some emotional safety in order for healing to happen. Because we ultimately know that healing and growth cannot happen if we don't feel safe. And safety, again, just like success, can mean different things for different people. Like that Gemini moon example, safety for her was being heard. Sagittarius moon example, safety for me is being free to choose. And so for Cancer, it's about creating that safe space and protecting that space, but still being inclusive. Like all are welcome, but here are the ground rules, here are the expectations that you have to follow so that we can have consent and safety and belonging for all of us. And if you can't follow those rules, then you're not included, right? So Cancer is the holder of safe spaces, the protector, the caretaker. And then once everybody feels safe in the Cancerian realm, then Cancer hands it off to Scorpio. So for Scorpio moons and moon sign now are primal needs and the inner drivers of why we do things. So in terms of like how we need to be recognized, what success feels like to us, how we claim parts of our identity from this place of what do we need from a security level, belonging that we create in ourselves, all our moon sign, okay? All Cancer. Then Scorpio takes it and says, okay, the healing is time to happen. Now you feel safe to heal, but let's go really look at the dis-ease that needs to come through and be healed. And so this dis-ease in healing can be like physical dis-ease, emotional dis-ease, business dis-ease, mindset dis-ease, which ultimately always comes from some kind of taboo or shame, you know, all of those stories that we hold on to, that we've experienced, that we have to validate and then look for meaning. And Scorpio is that energy that dredges up all of those hurt feelings and says, hey, let's look at these experiences. Let's try not to judge them as good or bad because, well, they happened. And we can say, what are we going to do with this information? Are we going to learn from this information and try to make things better? Or are we going to become a victim to this information and stay kind of stuck? And so that's what the power of Scorpio does. And so for those of us that have these powerful Scorpio moons, the theme of Scorpio is trust. Trust and power. Trust and power in their own intuition and trust in their own inner deep power. Scorpio is just like one of the most powerful signs of all of the archetypes. Not there, you know, they don't really have this like certain kind of like this is the weakest or the strongest. Each of them have their own strengths and their weaknesses, but Scorpio's power is so profound because they just have to trust their authentic power in order to be powerful. So easy, yet so difficult. Right? Yeah, the Scorpios, I work with a lot of Scorpios and I love working with Scorpios because I am not that powerful and I love recognizing their power. And most often than not, at the lowest element of Scorpio is that people are always denying their power. They're like, no, I don't trust it. It's not there for me. And then they start to learn their power and then they start to like maybe like manipulate people a little bit with it. Not because they're necessarily trying to be trying to be quote unquote bad or anything, but they're testing out their powers. And so you can see this also in little children Scorpios. Again, my one Scorpio, my friend's daughter who's a Scorpio sun, she's very much in this kind of manipulation phase right now because she knows she has power. She doesn't know exactly what it means. And she's testing it, testing it, testing it. She's like 6 years old. And I'm like, okay, girl, you need to chill out. Like, there no negotiations here, no manipulation here. Of course, not in those words because a 6-year-old isn't going to understand that. But I see how she's using her power to experiment and see how far she can get away with it. So if you know any Scorpios or if you have a Scorpio child, the thing that you're teaching the Scorpio children is boundaries, especially for water. All Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces is you're teaching them boundaries, right? Because water just flows, water just expands. And so for all of the moon signs that have water, we need to create our own boundaries. We need to say like what's okay, what's not okay, and really claim those and express those with other people. Okay, and like really say, you know what, this is not okay with me. I don't trust this part of myself right now. It's really okay in this terms of like understanding consent. And consent is coming up a lot in the vernacular lately because it's needed. Consent is about asking for permission. It's about saying what's right, what's okay, what's not okay. All of these ideas come from the safety of Cancer of water. Okay, off track. Now Scorpio. Scorpio then, after she does the hard work and the powerlifting, the emotional powerlifting, and only Scorpios can really have the capacity to do this deep emotional lifting. And that's why they make such great therapists, such great consultants, such great researchers, because they have that power to go deep. And then after Scorpio comes in, then Scorpio then hands it off to Pisces because healing has happened and now Pisces can now interconnect with one. It feels safe, it can expand. And the shadow sides of Pisces though is that if you've ever met a Pisces, or if you are a Pisces and you relate to this, it's like their feelings are so deep that they're so empathetic because they're so connected. Again, Pisces needs boundaries to be able to differentiate what's her feelings versus the feelings of others. And if you've ever noticed, like sometimes Pisces people, they can go off the deep end too. They want to avoid because they feel so much. And so sometimes we think of like mental illness or addiction that can be related to Pisces, but it's only because Pisces doesn't understand how to filter their own emotions and how to create those boundaries. And so they're trying to protect themselves from feeling everything. And so for the water moon signs, understanding that you need boundaries, you need to be able to say like what, understand your own emotions and understanding that just it's okay. Consent, so important. Responsibility to self and self-care if you have a water moon. Now, Sweta says, Gemini, sun and moon not feeling heard. Yes. So let's talk about the air moons and then we'll talk about the earth moons and the fire moons. So for the air moons like Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra, these are the social moons. These are the moons that are connecting through ideas, connecting through communicating, socializing, creating relationships, sharing information. And so Gemini is the first of the air signs, and Gemini is just loves collecting information. It just wants to explore, it wants to understand, it loves all the information, just like Sveta. Like I wanted her to kind of like go through my course one day and she's like, oh, I finished everything. I was like, wow, how did you do that? And she's like, I just love absorbing all this information. And so that's her sun sign, that's what she radiates. But if you have an air moon, Gemini air moons need to be heard and understood. Libra air moons need to feel like they are connected to somebody, that have these deep interpersonal relationships. They need to feel like they are part of a group. And then then Aquarius moon takes it to that next level. They kind of want to be part of a group, but they want to be part of a movement. They want to be part of a network, of a big social structure that is affecting change. They need to feel like they're being innovative, that they're doing something that is as change making to affect the future. So in terms of those ideas, that's how like the moon sign goes up for air signs, what they need. Now for those, let's move to earth signs. So the earth signs are about practicality and creation. And we forget that the earth signs are actually receptive signs. They're like the yin signs, or in the olden days, we'd call them the feminine signs, because they're more receptive and they're creational. So we have Taurus, we have Capricorn, and we have Virgo. And so with Taurus energy, that's the first energy. And it's creating physical security in terms of like, what do I need to survive? I need food, I need clothing, I need shelter. And then it takes it and it wants to then create a legacy. So if you have a Taurus moon, you know, like you are one of the signs that needs physical security. You're like, I need enough money to be able to have a nest egg in my bank. That's what feels secure for me. And so for you, you know, understanding that money is important if you have a Taurus moon sign. Yes, money is important. Or if you have then a Capricorn moon, like Sweta was talking about her Capricorn moon is about achievement and getting your goals and accomplishing the highest challenges. And so Capricorn moons, in terms of like that achievement, and Sweta is a perfect example of a Capricorn moon, because at first her sense of achievement was this sense of duty. Like her parents had really high expectations of her to become, like, have a good job, as to be a good daughter. So in the Indian culture, that might be becoming a doctor or a lawyer or something. And so Sweta, being the good daughter, decided to go become a doctor of pharmacy. But as we evolve and when we grow into that Capricorn moon, having our achievements and having our goals met, now we evolve this into this place of like, oh, I have met my own goals. I am now being responsible and accomplishing challenges that are what I want. I have my own responsibility. And of course, Capricorn is the queen of boundaries because she actually creates the boundaries. Capricorn and Cancer live on the opposite end of the spectrum. So there's a sense of responsibility and duty that both of them share. So for the Capricorn moons, it's really understanding, hey, am I accomplishing all of these goals because I want to do them, or am I accomplishing somebody else's goals? Am I serving in the sense of duty to others versus the sense of duty to myself? So with the Capricorn moon, you know, getting those achievements. Yes, get all of the achievements, get all of your accreditations, get all of your certifications, get all of the alphabet soup on top of your name, but ensure that these are the alphabet that you want, not your parents, not society, not your partner, you. And then Virgo moon. Virgo moon wants to analyze. Virgo moons need things to be as perfect as possible, even though we have to remember that there is no such thing as perfection. Virgo moons want to feel healthy. Well, not want to, they need to feel healthy. They need to feel that they are organized. They need to feel that they're living some kind of life that is part of wholeness and pureness in that Virgo sense. So those are the earth moons. Fire moons are Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries. And so we talked a little bit about those Aries moons, how they need to be first, the most competitive. And so when we look at that in terms of like, well, what are our old wounds that said it wasn't safe to be first or the most competitive? And how do we now adjust that in our lives and our businesses? Well, for an Aries moon, you need your own methodology. You need to be able to claim that this is the best system that I have. You have to be able to claim that you are the best or the most of something. That is a necessity for Aries moon. So we can think of Aries moons like Kamala Harris and Alexandria, or oh my God, I'm slipping. AOC. I always call her AOC. I can't recall her. That is so bad of me. I'm sorry. I love her because from a very young age, when at her Saturn return, she's like, I'm running, and I'm gonna be this politician, and I'm gonna change the world because I need to do this for myself in service to others, of course. But so we can think about our Aries moon sisters like that. Like, yeah, why shame them for wanting to be the best or the first or some mostest part? In Japanese, there's a term called ichiban. So whatever your ichiban, whatever your bestest, mostest. Then the Sagittarius moons, we talked about that need for freedom and that need to be mobile. Freedom for Sagittarius sometimes gets applied to in terms of like traveling, far off distance travel, but more so than just like going places, it's about experiencing things. So that's our Sagittarius moon sisters. And so having freedom, needing that freedom, needing to explore, needing to have that choice is so important for Sagittarius. And then Leos have, especially for a Leo moon, Leos know what they want creatively. They know their style, they know their passion. They need to be recognized and they need to be adored. Like that is so important for our Leo moon sisters. And so I know there's a couple of Leo moon listeners here who we've talked about. Actually, very recently I've had two Leo moon clients right on the 11th house, and both of them I mentioned for them both needing to be recognized and adored in kind of these like large, like from their friend networks, or like being adored on stage with like lots of groups of people recognizing them. And both of them totally agreed to realizing that. So once we understand, in recap, just kind of once we understand what our moon sign needs and get really honest with our moon sign in terms of what do we need, what does recognition mean to us, what stories do I need to heal, then we can start to change that narrative about like understanding how we get stuck in certain places because maybe we're making decisions based on fear. In terms of that recognition, now telling other people how we want to be recognized so that we can feel secure in terms of like, hey, I'm claiming this part of my identity and I need you to recognize this part of me. And then also, then lastly, what does success now feel like to you? What are you going after? How can you make decisions in your business that will allow you to feel that way? Because that is what success means to you. And then once the moon sign then gets emotionally secure, it starts to work with the sun sign, because it's not like these two energies exist differently. It's not like you have like your salt pepper and your salt shaker and your pepper shaker on the counter, but you're never using salt and pepper. We're always using salt and pepper together, right? Like, I mean, that's the case. And so just like our moon and our sun sign, we use them together. And how do they start to work together? Well, the more that you are amplifying the what you do, our sun sign, and getting like really confident because you're focusing on your zone of genius, your superpowers from your sun, it's feeding into your why. Why are you doing this, the what you do? And it's feeding into the confidence is feeding into the emotional security, and before you know it, we have this beautiful engine that's running in you, this beautiful dance between your two luminaries, the sun and the moon. And even if you've been studying, if you're new to astrology, or if you've been studying astrology for years, like a student of, like a lifelong student of astrology like I am, it's so important to return to these foundational roots. Every time you return to them, you will learn something new, and focus in on that, because everything else is of service to the sun and the moon. You know, Black Moon Lilith, you're going to get excited about Black Moon Lilith or Chiron or any of these other little asteroids out there in the sky. Yeah, they can be important, but they still have to serve your sun and your moon. So, phew, oh my gosh, so I've been talking a lot. And I haven't really been doing any listening. So let's go answer some charts. So I'm going back into the chat here, because who was that first person? I think it's Claire. You had a question. Or I have your chart. What is your question, rather? So Claire's chart, you have your Scorpio moon right near Saturn. So Sometimes like this, you hold your emotions in quite a bit. But this is also in your eighth house. So Claire, can you tell me a little bit about, do you have a question about your moon sign in your business and how you want to be seen and recognized? You're also born during a fourth quarter moon. So, in this lifetime, just from a soul level, from a personal level, you're really learning how to create emotional boundaries in your life instead of bottling up all your emotions, trusting to be able to express your emotions and using them so that you gain more inner understanding that will really serve your powerful Aquarius sun in the 12th house, where you're really here to innovate. Ease and flow, innovate, restoration. Gosh, your moon and your sun and your north node are really integrated all together. So Claire says, well, you talked about my question already without me knowing it. I want to help people with shadow work for a career change. I'm not sure what the best way to do that is. So beautiful, because your Scorpio moon is so potent. It's already in Scorpio's home sign of the eighth house, which is really about doing that shadow work. And so I know that sometimes a lot of people in the spiritual world, or we don't want to look at our shadow, right? We want to kind of dismiss our shadow when really we can't have light, or we can't, what is that expression? We can't really experience joy unless we have experienced pain, and it's all part of that necessary progress. That part of the shadow is so important in terms of, with your sun being in the 12th house, of how and about the 12th house represents a lot of different things in terms of, it can represent our soul's work. It can represent retreating and reformation. It can represent how do we bring ease and flow. With your sun, the what you do in Aquarius there, you could be like helping people reform their work, getting really clear, doing the inner integration, the inner consciousness work of bringing up those shadows. The moon Saturn thing is a really big thing for you. I feel like you're giving them emotional structures, the emotional structures that you've learned to break free of, to not cap in your emotions, and how to bring them through for alchemy and transformation. I sometimes I wave a red flag when I hear people say alchemy, because I'm like, what does alchemy mean to you? But alchemy is very important in the eighth house, because that's a place of distillation and transformation. So career changes is all about doing that deep inner work and understanding the subconscious elements that are coming through that are preventing them from accomplishing their most innovative soul work. So I think you have a good idea there, Claire, where to go with that for you. Charts. All right. So Christy, I'm pulling up your chart. As I pull up your chart, so Christy wants to know if she's finding the right spot between my intuitive gifts and my professional skill set. So first of all, Christy, I am so glad that you recognize your intuitive gifts, because for anybody that has a Scorpio moon that has been denying their intuitive gifts, whether you call it intuitive gifts or you're just like pure psychic energy, like, let's redefine that so you can trust yourself. So you have moon conjunct Uranus in Scorpio in the sixth house. And so sixth house with service to others, and this is right across Chiron. When we have Chiron with such this strong signature, this strong relationship with your moon and Uranus, well, actually, I'm skipping ahead. Let's talk about moon and Uranus first. So your intuition, to me, with Uranus there, it just happens like this zap in your body, like this terms of like, oh, do you have like some kind of like nervous system understanding? Is that how you experience your intuition? Because every time I see Uranus, it's like an electrical force, and Uranus rules our nervous system. And so with the moon in Scorpio next to Uranus, it's like when you know something, it's like your body just like lights up. Maybe you also have a hard time with like electronics, like you're always like busting them because your electrical energy is so good. Christy, you say realizing 20 years into a successful brand and marketing career that your intuitive empath underpinning is actually a big part of what made me so good at this career, and I want to do more of this and more with aligned values audience. Oh my gosh, Christy, we need to talk, because of course, that's what I do with branding, but I use astrology I have my moon in the sixth house also, because like I want to use this understanding in service to others. Like for me, success isn't success. I mean, freedom is success for me at a personal level, but in my business, of course, like being a service to others, it's like I don't feel like I've done anything in turn unless unless it's actually helping other people. And so for you, your intuitive sense, like this electrical sense of your inner knowing, definitely bringing that out. And I'm curious because when you were a child at some point, or younger, you had these experiences where maybe it wasn't safe, it was kind of a wounding that you weren't allowed to use your intuition, or somebody told you that it wasn't cool, or like temper that down, or it's dangerous or something like that, with that Chiron across the way. And so thinking about in your empathetic world and how you're going to bring that into your business, what success feels like to you is really talking about people's past experiences and how those wounds actually become wisdom. So Chiron is really important in our chart. We all have Chiron somewhere, and the wounds of Chiron that we've experienced as in our early life, they've created wounds that don't necessarily get healed, but we've learned to accommodate them. And so it's through this accommodation process, we've built up tools that now support us, that we are supposed to offer back as gifts. So this Chiron moon energy for you, Christy, really gives you an insight in terms of like what you're meant to offer. Yes, it is about intuitive gifts. Yes, it is about maybe helping others harness their intuitive gifts, and looking at these past experiences where it was dangerous for you to use those intuitive gifts. Look at all of the pieces that you built around that. Those are keys to what you're supposed to be offering. Yes, beautiful, Christy. Freedom, joy, and ease, values, alignments are big drivers as you look at building a big business. Yeah. And how do we how do we talk about that, right? And in the corporate world, where they're starting to talk about intuition, like the good old boys always talked about, like, trust your instinct, trust your instinct. Oh gosh, I hate that kind of talk. Personally for me. But your emotions are so powerful. They're even deeper than emotions. Like when you're able to like tap into your emotions, like you're tapping into your soul. Yes. So Christie's, you're actually toying with helping women tap into their intuitive feminine approach to leadership and breaking the boundaries of the old patriarchal led model. Yeah, I mean, that is it. And remember, your sun sign is right in Cancer. So I'm talking about Cancer in the next podcast episode, all about the Cancer archetype. You have Cancer on your third house cusp. So what you're doing is you're teaching what you do is your ability to talk about safety, inclusion, belonging, and emotional security. So the what you do for your clients, like for you, success feels like you're making a difference when you're emotionally powerful and sharing your intuition, but the what you're doing is actual communications. So Sarah, oh my goodness, I love reading your chart, because Sarah is born in Alaska, and anybody who has like really close to one of the poles just has this amazing chart. Your 11th and 12th houses are so big. Sarah, Aries moon in the 11th house. I know you've said that being first and best is key, but that feels like a lot of pressure. Wondering your thoughts on how to do that sustainably or in a way that doesn't feel exhausting. Ah, yes. So with with your 11th house, I think for all of us with the Aries, any Aries energy, we can really push ourselves to like really burn out. And so I think part of this Aries understanding is, even though it's me first, it is about putting me first. And even though it's about being the best or being the most competitive, we have to make sure that, like, again, with this turtle spirit, this is from the deck from Colette Baron Reed, slow and steady wins the race. So you already know, Sarah, what it means to be sustainable. But my question to you then is, what prevents you from being sustainable. When I look at your moon sign there with Pluto, like this Pluto just wants to transform, transform, transform. But sometimes transform is in this place of rest. And so really tapping into your moon sign, besides the best, besides the competitive, remember Aries is about me first. What do I need? So checking in with your moon sign, what do I need right now? And also remember that the sun is still going through your 12th house, right? This, like in your chart, in your natal experience, this is a time of rest. This is a time of doing deep restoration and soul searching. You still have a couple of more days until the sun goes into your first house. And even then, it's not like for you, like all of a sudden you've done all of your soul searching and you're like ready to like hit the ground running. No, just be slow. So remember, every day, Sarah, ask yourself, what do I need today? What can I do to put myself first today? What can I do to do some soul searching today, especially as my moon is in, as my sun is traveling through my 12th house, which is about that kind of deep soul inner work. So I hope that serves you, Sarah, because you have all of the tools. I know you have all the tools, but you're just not giving yourself permission to slow down in a way yet. And remember, your business, people love you. You don't always have to be on the go, on. They won't go anywhere. They'll be there for when you're fully rested. Okay, Sarah? Permission to put yourself first. Put your body's needs first. Yes. What do I need? I know sometimes it's like these simple things. You're like, why didn't I think of that? Like, it's right there. I know, I do that all the time too. So permission to put yourself first. What do you need? Every morning, every hour, every minute. What do I need right now? Put yourself first. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Heidi, this is a beautiful chart. You know, like I'm just so fascinated by everybody's charts. You know, I've seen so many charts in my lifetime, and all of these charts are so unique, so different, and everything for Heidi is packed up in her 4th and 5th houses. It's like we have Jupiter kind of like in the 1st house a little bit, hanging out right on your ascendant, which, you know, kind of balances things. But oh my gosh, Jupiter has a lot of work to balance everything else. So 4th house moon in Sagittarius. So there's this element of like family freedom that you need to kind of create and cultivate in your life. In the 4th house, and we're looking at our IC, which is the foundational, like the 4th house is ruled by Cancer. And so you'll hear me talk about very Cancerian themes. And of course, the moon rules Cancer. So moon, Cancer, 4th house, familial things, family things, legacy things, foundational roots, emotional security is what we're talking about. And so with your moon, your Sagittarius freedom loving moon in your 4th house, there's this element where you need safety and freedom from your family. So you're just wondering how to use your moon in your 4th house in your career. It always felt put off by typical descriptions. Oh yeah, because like people are telling you with your moon in Sagittarius that you want to go explore and you want to like do all these things, like you need to go travel and go to university and do all of these things. But in the 4th house, instead of like your travel being far out, your travel is like deep in. So in terms of like using it in your business, we want to ask that question, like what makes you feel emotionally free? Is there a part of your family that has like lots of expectations in terms of, oh, you need to follow the family business, or you need to follow the family legacy. It could be that maybe you take over the family business, yet you do it in like you do this in like this new innovative way that allows you to be free. Maybe it is sometimes the 4th house in Cancer is about kind of our family property and real estate sometimes, or like the property that we get from our family. And so this could be cultivating freedom from that or in that. So I wonder, Heidi, what is your career? What do you do for work right now? And we can kind of put that into a little bit of context. Because you also have Mercury, you also have Mars, and you also have Venus. So with Mars and Venus, even though they're not exactly there together, Venus is about creating union and connections and relationships. Mercury is about communicating and expressing. The moon is about our emotions, and Mars is about motivating and taking action and being a leader. And so in this place, there's like this deep, like, I keep on wanting to saying there's like this deep family legacy that is going on, in which, like, is there a family business that you're running in or running from? It could be. Ah, okay, there we go. Religious norms. So Sagittarius archetype, right? Even though we're talking about from this more elevated level of like exploration, one of the shadow sides of Jupiter is about deep religious, like sometimes like not exact, it can be a cult, but like really being brought up in a religious household, because you remember Sagittarius is the ruler of man-made religions. And so at this highest level, Sagittarius is about envisioning a future and going after philosophical beliefs and moral beliefs that, you know, we create meaning in our lives. But at its lowest level, it's like deep dogma. And so in terms of like you and your business, like feeling that you need that freedom from your family to do your way, to like say like, I still love you, but I'm going to be doing things in my own way, because that is what success is for you. That is the freedom that you need, right? So again, our moon sign is our why and our need for freedom. And so if you start to look at how your family has impacted your inability to be free, I would start to look at some of those stories and start really healing some of those stories and how you can work that into your business. Chiron in the 12th house in Leo says that, you know, like you have like this style, this creativity that was maybe stifled. And so those would be some key elements to see about, like, hey, what kind of offerings can I do that will really satisfy my need to be free from my family? So thank you, Heidi, for sharing your chart. Oh, Leela, I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, Leela, thank you for the help with the pronunciation. We've chatted before also. All right, so your moon in Cancer in the 11th house, that is squaring Pluto in the 3rd house. So you're really good at ruffling feathers when you want to talk about emotions or belonging or safety. I love it. How can I use my natural gifts and talents to create a magical and soul aligned business? Yes. So the magical and soul aligned business, when I hear you say that, I'm seeing like the Venus and Saturn in the 12th house, like that's all about the soul work. And like the Venus in the 12th house, it's about like creating soul art, and the Saturn's about creating structures that allow you to work from your soul, but also be free form, so making things easier. But your sun and your moon, so I know somebody else had talked about, what if you have your sun and your moon in the same sign? Leela has both her Cancer sun and her Cancer moon. She was born right after the new moon in Cancer. And so when we have our sun and our moon in the same sign, it means just the what we do is perfectly aligned with the why we do what we do, right? So our superpower, our zone of genius, is aligned with why we do things and what we need to feel emotionally secure. So we're like dealing with one archetype. It makes it even easier. And so for you, Leela, in the 11th house, you really want to affect change. You really want to be of service to bigger groups and bigger networks. So like really working with larger workshops or larger group coaching, or teaching lots of people, or creating some kind of platform with all of this kind of shared interest for social change. For you, social change is going to have to do with something with around Cancer energy, Gemini Cancer energy. So maybe this is like education for children, or this could, I'm looking also at Gemini because Gemini is the ruler of the 11th house, and you also have Mercury in there. So it's this Gemini kind of Cancer blend. So like maybe advocating for education for children, or education for moms, or understanding for moms, or services for moms, kind of bringing in some of the educational element of Gemini and sharing information with the Cancer archetype of caretaking and mothering in the 11th house. But hopefully understanding that what you do in terms of like creating safety and creating inclusive communities, but for like larger communities, that's really important for you. We have Tiffany. I have Tiffany here. And your question, Tiffany, you're relaunching your personal leadership coaching business. I'm longing for true freedom in my life and helping other women of color do the same through self-compassion, clarity, and healing generational and societal wounds and expectations. So in the podcast, you say you heard that you lead your branding with the sun. So can you give me an example of how this looks in someone's business in general? Any chart insights would be appreciated. Yeah, so Tiffany, so our sun sign is what we do so well. And it's kind of this undercurrent of how we talk about what we do that differentiates it from somebody else, like our superpowers or our zone of genius, depending on what kind of language you use around what you do so well. Our moon sign is that why. What is success and recognition look like to us so that we can claim it, so we can see our motivations, and so we can make decisions based on what is going to fulfill the needs of our moon sign. How we package it up, how we contribute, how we guide, how we lead comes from our rising sign. And so for you, if we're looking just at our moon sign right now, we have another moon sign in the 6th house. For you in Sagittarius, both Sagittarius in the 6th house. So yes, for you, understanding that what you are motivated by is freedom. But it's not just freedom for you. It's like, how are you creating freedom in like kind of the workplace? When we're thinking about your particular clients, when you're talking about creating freedom in their lives by helping other women of color, the 6th house is service to others. And in terms of like what would feel like success for you, that then informs like what you're going to do, what offers you're going to do, how you're going to lead, how you're going to talk about things. That's like that moon sign isn't necessarily anything that people are going to see, but our moon sign is definitely like what we need to claim as how we want to be recognized. So like in part for you, like how you might want to claim part of your identity is saying like, I am a freedom creator for women of color who feel trapped in their lack of leadership, right? That they felt like that they don't have any mobility. So we can even look at your moon sign in terms of the shadow sides of that Sagittarius in the 6th house. Like maybe there was this lack of upward mobility that you've experienced that drives you, that adds to your why. And so for you, Tiffany, you have all of that information in the 6th house. So you're breaking through with Uranus in Sagittarius. You're helping them break through as a part of service to others. You're helping them find that emotional freedom in themselves. You're helping them activate by strategic step-by-steps, and then also using spirituality as a tool with Neptune also in your 6th house. So this is a really beautiful signature. You have a lot of impact to make through your business. Now your sun sign in Aries, the what you do, you're here to be the best or the first at something. There's something that you're doing here in the terms of career. I'm glad that you are working on leadership development, because this is self-directed leadership, ability to take risks in your career and to be visible. And so that's really, really, really important for you, Tiffany. So I hope that mini reading serves. Going back to Leela, she says, this is so helpful. I realize that the regular weekly dance I do for women is an opportunity to replenish and nourish mothers. Oh my gosh, yes. Mothers and caretakers as well. As a woman without physical children, I use my nurturing qualities to hold sacred, safe spaces for others and come back within to connect with their vitality and soul essence. That is so important. You got it, Leela. You totally got it. And remember, even if it's just not the mothers, it's like also caretakers, right? You sense that you are some kind of divine nurturer. Even if you don't have children of your own, you have that deep, nourishing, caretaking need that is coming through. So Shannon, let me get your chart. Beautiful. Okay, thank you, Shannon. So 12th house, sun and moon, Saturn also in there. All right. So you have a lot of mastery to learn in terms of mastering your mind, but in terms of like how can you make things easier for yourself? Okay, so with your sun sign, what you do, which is just so good at being curious, so good at sharing information, so good at writing, so good at teaching, the sun sign, and then your moon sign, then needing to be heard and understood in this place of soul. So connecting this, did that, Shannon says, oh boy, lol, did that hit a spot? And then with Saturn in between your sun and your moon, like that is still there, because wherever Saturn is, right, is this place where in the past you might have had some like serious self-doubt. Like for you it could have been like, I need to work hard, I can't really rest, I always have to be on, or I don't trust my ideas are so scattered and I don't trust my intelligence, right? This kind of self-doubt in terms of Gemini ideals around the mind and your intellect. But then as we get older, as we become more mature, especially after we pass our first Saturn return, I'm not exactly sure how old you are, Shannon, but you know, when we pass our first Saturn return at 29 or 30, then we learn how to start to master our mindset, master our soul's work, master our need for rest and restoration. The 12th house, I don't know what else you have in your 12th house, but it sounds like with this much 12th house energy, anytime I see somebody with a lot of 12th house energy, or if they have like the same sign on the 12th house cusp as and the rising cusp, there's this element of past life, like you unfinished business. And so when we have this unfinished business in our lives with Gemini, there was something that you were supposed to teach or learn or share that you weren't able to do. And so in this lifetime, you're really supposed to collect all your energies and really master your mindset in terms of like sharing this energy, sharing this soul energy that needs to come through. I'm not exactly sure what that means for you. I don't know your business or your chart very well. Okay, so 49. So, and perfect. So definitely you learn to trust your own perceptions and need to be heard. You have been in major journeys. Yeah, 49. So one of the big things at 49 in terms of like some of the midlife transits that are about to happen is you're also approaching your Chiron return. And so again, Chiron, we all have Chiron, and right around 50, Chiron returns to that same place. So you'll have Chiron in Aries, and Chiron in Aries is about like trusting yourself, right? Trusting that you have the ability to lead and lead yourself, and that you are fixing whatever wounds that you had around this inability to be self-directed. You're working on that. And so to me, all of these energies are coming really clear for you. So I wonder how you will start to use that. Yes, you are a resume writer, but interested in shifting into something. I've also been some sort of teacher and organizer and share every job. Yeah. So really, you know, no matter where you are in your career, you can see how that red thread of your sun about sharing information and teaching information and getting things really clear is working. So maybe in this new shift, it's not necessarily about resume writing, but how can you do soul work based on creative writing, or getting in touch with like writing your emotions and expressing yourself. Like that sounds like a beautiful shift for where you are now, are now, Shannon. So I hope that serves. So that I'm tapped out with my energy with this moon deep dive, and I've had such a wonderful time going through everybody's charts. So thank you for sharing your charts and wanting to go with this deep dive with this moon sign. And I don't have any links yet for the things that are coming up in the fall, but really stay tuned, because I'm really excited about the things that I'll be offering. Because again, for me, with my moon in the 6th house, this is about the freedom to choose how to live our lives and show up as a luminary leader in our businesses. And so when you succeed, when you feel empowered, is how I feel successful. So again, in August, I'll be teaching how to read your natal chart for business, as well as the yet unnamed 4-part series training about your deep dive into your sun, moon, rising and your ideal customer that positions your business that is unique to your star powers. And then late in the fall, I'll be co-teaching the sustainable harvest. How can we give ourselves permission to rest and work according to our own design? It's in there because we're not meant to work all the time. So I'm going to lead by example and taking a whole month of July off in visiting family in Hawaii. I'm so excited. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are in the world, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye. The greatest thing that you could do to me to pass things forward is to head over to Apple iTunes and leave a rating and review for this podcast. Let others know what you think, and each rating and review helps this podcast be more visible to listeners like you.